said shit.
Welcome to Trash Talk MMA.
On my face, behind my back, and talk trash.
The #1 podcast for news and insight that matters in the world of mixed martial arts.
I don't want to hear it.
Brought to you live and unfiltered from all four corners of the globe
That's what you said.
by MMA aficionado Antoine Pelche.
Yo, and welcome to the Trash Talk MMA podcast. I'm your host, Antoine Pelche, and today I have a very special guest, UFC bantamweight fighter, Vaughan Lee. Vaughan, how you doing, buddy?
I'm great, thank you.
Awesome, man. What brings you to Phuket?
I'm just out here, trying to get fit, trying to regain my hunger for fighting, I kind of almost lost a reason to fight for, I kind of got comfortable with my job and family and kids and that, so I kind of got complacent, and I don't know, my training wasn't going so well and stuff, so I kind of put myself here to give me that hunger back, and
Yeah, I think you hear that quite a bit of people coming out to Thailand to train. I think it's a really nice change of pace, and it's not a distraction, because obviously one of the great things about here is that it's basically you don't have the distractions. Well, you can be distracted,
yeah.
But if you choose to train and to be disciplined, then this is a great place for it. You've got this whole ecosystem out here in Phuket that allows you to kind of disconnect from everything that's back home, etc., and focus on your camp. What brings you to Phuket Top Team specifically? Have you trained with them before?
Yeah, before my first UFC fight with Chris Guerrilla-style, I came out here and decided to train at Phuket Top Team because they're more MMA based,
Okay.
This was like my first UFC fight.
God, when was that? In 2011.
Yeah, and all these shops here down this strip, they weren't here. Do you know what I mean?
It's wild, right?
Built up so much after since then. But yeah, and I'm just the energy and the vibe from all the guys in the gym, I've had a nice relationship with Boyd. We speak to each other a lot since my last camp here. I just like it.
Okay, but so specifically, you chose Phuket Top Team because you feel that they really dive into the MMA facet of things.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Have you trained anywhere else in Thailand?
No.
Okay. Okay, so you're a native of Birmingham, England. It doesn't roll off the tongue easily, that word. Birmingham, England. And over there, you were based out of the Ultimate Training Center. Is that still the case?
Yes. No,
Okay.
I used to fight out of there, but it's not the case anymore. I left there after my.
So you're homeless right now?
Yeah, I'm kind of just gym hopping, if
Okay.
you like, just bouncing from gym to gym, trying to learn different techniques from different guys, some of the best guys in the country and that, and just trying to share my knowledge with them as well,
Yeah, and it's interesting because looking back at your UFC career, you've just flip-flopped between wins and losses in all 7 of your fights.
Mm-hmm.
And when we started this conversation, you were saying that you're trying to find your mojo, right, and just trying to get back in it. I can only imagine that for a fighter how difficult that must be, because you must question where you sort of fit in the promotion, where you fit in the division, and having to a win, a loss, a win, a loss. I mean, every fighter wants to get on that win streak. What do you think? What's been blocking you from getting there?
Well, a kind of number of things really. One, my perception of how I fight and why I fight, just to improve myself, and fighting in the UFC for me was a test to test my abilities, to see what I've learned, if I can use what I've learned, in a real
actually
combat
apply
sense.
it.
Yeah, not really going for the money or going for that all comes with it,
So you're like a theory and a practice guy.
Yeah. So just to develop myself as a better martial artist, really, so that, and also like not having the right training partners, kind of just kept me stale, kept me stagnant in one place,
You probably
didn't feel like I was
kind
growing.
of plateaued, right?
Yeah, exactly. I got to one level in the gym, and then I'd have to wait for other guys to come up to my level or close, and spar with those, or train with the bigger guys who I would and get injured. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, I know. I'm the same way. In my career, I've often been I mean, when I started my career, I was really surrounded by a lot of great senior guys, you know, working in games, working in game audio. And I thought it was a really privileged situation to be in because I just started as a video game tester, right? And then I had an audio background, so then I kind of got into audio, and I was really blessed to have so many veterans. I mean, so many black belts, you could say, you know, surrounding me in all these different disciplines of video game audio that I could just reach out to and get so much crazy instruction from and advice and mentoring from. And I can only imagine in something that you need to apply so tangibly as martial arts that you're constantly striving to work with people that are better than you because it's the iron sharpens iron thing. And you seem like somebody that gravitates toward that sense of dynamic for your own growth as a fighter.
Yes, definitely. I mean, and when you're like the big fish, you don't really progress, you know what I mean? You're helping everyone else, but you're not really progressing yourself. So that's why I love to go to places to get beat down, you know what I mean? I need to get beat down, so it makes me stronger, you know, when I come back, and I learn a lot from it.
So when did you start this journey of trying to basically reinvent yourself here, or reinvigorate yourself?
I started it after my last fight with Yuri Alcantara.
Okay.
He knocked me out. The first time I've been knocked out unconscious, that is.
Okay.
And it taught me
in a fight, or even in training, or
in a fight.
Is that the first time in your life you really lost fully consciousness?
Fully
okay.
Consciousness. And I kind of saw life differently now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I perceive life a lot differently, just from being knocked out. You know what I mean? It's
So what's your takeaway from that? That it sucks.
No, not really. I don't. It's made me fearless of being knocked out again. You know, it's I kind of know what it feels like now. So it's like I'm unafraid of that. So now I think my striking will be a lot more better, or I'll be able to bring it out more because I'm unafraid of getting knocked out.
Yeah. Now, I mean, you know, looking back at, I mean, your whole career, you've actually fought a really, like, a who's who of bantamweights. You know, I was just looking back at your record today, knowing that we were going to speak tonight. I mean, Brad Pickett, Chris Cariaso. I mean, Pickett's always a perpetual contender. Cariaso, he fought for the belt. You're the first guy to submit Kid Yamamoto. I mean, you fought TJ Dillashaw. He's the champ. Rafael Sunsao, he should be getting a title fight. You had a crazy war with Nam Phan. And then, you know, the fight you just mentioned against Alcantara. I mean, you've been put against a pretty vicious list of competitors. Do you like the way your career has progressed like that? Do you feel like when you got into the UFC, like, how big of a jump was that for you compared to the guys you'd fought before? I mean, I think you fought Pickett outside of the UFC, right?
Yes, yeah. I fought him. We actually fought for a title. And he was at the top of his game, and I was just an up and comer.
Yeah.
And it was a big war as well. That was a good war, but he defeated me in the third round with a crucifix and elbows.
Okay.
But since then we've been training partners.
Crazy.
I go help him train.
Okay.
And he helps me train. So yeah, we're pretty cool.
I mean, he's another guy who's kind of at a bit of a crossroads. He's been, you know, changing weight classes and sort of jumping around, and has mixed success. I mean, I've always been a big fan of Brad Pickett as well. You know, gritty fighter. Always interesting to watch him fight. So that's cool. You guys are now training together.
Yeah.
When did that start?
Pretty much after we fought, really. Yeah.
Okay.
That was years ago, so we've known each other for years.
Okay, so before you got to the UFC then?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, yeah. We were friends before we got to the UFC.
All right. So in terms of, like, how do you lay out... Sorry, go ahead.
Back to the question.
Awesome.
I see my career... I was very uneducated back in the day, you know, with cutting weight and stuff like that. So I used to fight just at my walking around weight. And the guys I used to fight, they used to cut weight, you know what I mean?
Okay.
So I used to fight bigger guys all the time. But it wasn't really a problem for me because I was pretty strong as I was a kid. But as I got to fight better guys, that's when it became a problem. That's when I cut down to bantamweight. And to me...
And you started as a featherweight.
Yeah, I started as a featherweight.
How many fights did you fight at featherweight before dropping to bantam?
I'd say about 12, maybe 12.
Okay.
12, 15, something like that.
So you were fighting monsters then?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I cut down to bantam. But I always say to myself, I don't mind who I fight. You know what I mean? I want to fight the best because that's the only way I'm going to learn. You know what I mean? If I'm
you've clearly done that, yeah.
So the way my career's gone, I've learned a lot from my last fight. You know what I mean? Every fight I learned from it. So if you look at my record in the UFC, I lost my first fight and I learned a lot from it. And I came back and submitted Kid Yamamoto. Then I lost to TJ Dillashaw, learned that, and then come back and win. So I kind of win, learn kind of thing, you know.
Yeah, it's a hard way to learn through loss after win, loss after win. I can only imagine how that that works for you guys, especially kind of knowing how the UFC looks at their fighters and looks at their rosters, and they're looking for consistency, they're looking for wins, and they're looking for exciting fights. That's definitely one thing that you always bring to the table. There's always an exciting fight. I mean, you've had 15 fights in your career end in the first round. A lot of those were wins, some of them were losses. Do you like to come out and start quick? Is that something that is that part of your strategy? Is that part of your style, or is that just how shit goes down?
I don't know if you know a guy called Paul Taylor, Relentless Paul Taylor,
of course.
In the UFC.
He had that great fight. It was the two Pauls in the UFC.
Paul Kelly and Paul Taylor.
Exactly. Yeah. They just went, they cavemen on each other.
Yeah, he was my sparring partner for years. You know what I mean? So he had an erratic style. So
he was a tall, lanky dude, right?
He wasn't that tall.
Was it? Yeah, because it was Paul Taylor was the taller one, right?
Yeah,
Paul Kelly was the stockier one.
Yeah. But the way he fights, we would train like that. Do you know what I mean? Erratically.
Yeah.
So, but he was like a welterweight. You know what I mean? He started off middleweight and then he came down to welterweight, and he had the speed of like a featherweight. You know what I mean? But yeah. As soon as I get touched and I know I'm in a fight, that's when it's on. I like to come out and go, yeah, come on, because I'm from a stand-up background, really. Okay. People think I'm from a grappling background because when I started grappling, we used to do loads of grappling competitions just to improve, just to get better, just to, to win or to lose, it didn't matter. We just went to improve our game. Okay. So I won a few grappling competitions back in the day, and that's why the UFC classed me as a grappler kind of thing.
Interesting. Yeah. And that's interesting too, because I know you're a big fan of Bruce Lee.
Yes.
Is that because you guys have the name in common? No, I'm just playing with you.
Yeah, it is actually.
But it does, right? And so that's funny. I'm sure you've probably modeled yourself off if you're a big fan of him. And
well, growing up, I read all his books, watched all his films. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But the Tao of Jeet Kune Do, that's probably one of my favorite books. It breaks down a lot of things, you know what I mean? But growing up, I didn't understand most of it because I didn't understand cadence and stuff like the relationship between your opponent, breaking the rhythm and stuff like that. But as I grew older and experienced it in my fight, I go back and read it. I know the whole book, you know what I mean? It's dissolved inside me because I know.
It's part of your DNA now.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, and I think books like that have so many deep layers to them. I think when you're younger, you're just not going to process them the same way.
Exactly.
And you haven't gone through all these fights, going through the wins, going through the losses, changing promotions, changing camps, training in different spots. If you go back and reference some of that literature, you're gonna get all sorts of new jewels from it every single time. Exactly, yeah. I mean, that's one of the beauties of getting old and somewhat wiser, right? Awesome. So, I mean, outside of Phuket Top Team, you said you've been gym jumping a bit. Have you been anywhere else interesting? Or?
Not outside the UK, but in the UK I train at various other gyms. Like down in Portsmouth, there's a Gym 01. Phil Harris used to be a flyweight in the UFC.
The name rings a bell.
He trains there. So I train at Titan sometimes with Brad Pickett. Yep. There's a gym that's affiliated with Bang Muay Thai and 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu called Elements in Birmingham. That's where my base is at the moment, where I go regularly. But I just keep jumping from gym to gym, really.
So what's your take on the scene in England right now? I mean, obviously the UFC is exploding all over the place. We see there's a card every single Saturday now, and there's one coming up in Manila. I mean, they're just happening. They're springing up all over the place like mushrooms. How has the scene? I mean, the scene was already obviously the infrastructure's been in place in England for a long time. Yeah. But I mean, living there, do you feel like there's a real growth and a real enthusiasm around MMA right now?
Yeah, I think so. Definitely, because I think boxing is, don't get me wrong, but it's kind of dying out. Do you know what I mean? To be honest, after this Manny Pacquiao and Mayweather fight, I know there's some other good guys coming up, but everyone's going towards
the excitement is
now.
really radiating around this fight, and then after that, I mean,
thanks to Conor McGregor as well. Do you know what I mean? He's just, everyone loves Conor. He brings entertainment. You know what I mean? That entertainment value that Muhammad Ali brought to boxing. You know what I mean? He's bringing that. So I think that's bringing people, drawing people into.
What's your take on Conor as a fighter?
As a fighter,
yeah,
I think he's kind of like.
Are you happy to see him? Do you think he's earned this title shot?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, yeah.
Kind of, sort of.
He's talked his way to the top where he can generate that much money, you know. But the other guys, there's probably other guys out there that have been in the game longer that should have probably got a shot. But
Jose Aldo's beaten them all too.
Yeah, it's true.
He's beaten Frankie. He's beaten Cub. He's beaten Uriah.
Yeah.
So you get to Conor, who beat Poirier, who beat some of the other guys a little bit higher up. You know. But I think it's an interesting dynamic. I think he's talked his talk and he's walked his walk.
Yeah.
He's beaten good guys, if not great ones. The guys ranked ahead of him have all lost to the champ.
Yeah.
He's done a great job promoting a fight. I think it's a fight that people want to see. I think it's a fight where Conor brings some interesting tools, an interesting physical difference that Jose Aldo hasn't necessarily faced yet in his UFC career. So I think it's going to make for an interesting fight that has its merits. Absolutely,
yeah, definitely.
Outside of the promotion that Conor's brought to it.
Definitely, I hope fucking Conor does a number on him. To be honest, I was at his gym before I came here.
Okay.
In Ireland, training there. But like I said, as a fighter, he's improving all the time. Do you know what I mean? I think he's a bit like me when he's growing. As he gets older, he's learning loads of different new stuff. Do you know what I mean? And he's so relaxed and so confident, and that's kind of what I was lacking.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? That's what I need.
Yeah, it's really that mental game of Definitely. Finding that groove. You know, do you how do you try to go about bettering that? I mean, we all, there's so many ways to physically improve yourself. Yeah. What do you do to, what are some of the tricks you're trying to do? Not tricks, or actual life changes or whatnot that you're trying to apply to get your mental focus right?
Well, like I said, when I got knocked out, I had a realization that I thought I was my ego, my ego controlled me, you know what I mean? I thought I was Vaughan Lee, the UFC fighter, you know what I mean? But I'm me. And when you fight, that's when you bring the ego out. That's when you can be cocky and you can, you know what I mean?
Yeah, there's a difference between the man and the persona.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I know how to control that now. Like Anderson Silva said, that his ego, he when he's playing around and stuff like that, it can go too far. You need to know how to control it. So.
Getting back to one of your fights, I mean, I remember quite vividly the fight against Kid Yamamoto. Because there you were fighting against a legend, a guy who I'm sure you were like, hey, this is going to be a heck of a scrap.
Yeah.
I think he had a tough decision loss to Demetrius Johnson, I think, in his UFC debut.
Yeah.
I think he kind of got exposed for some grappling deficiencies, perhaps.
Takedowns.
And now we know obviously what Demetrius Johnson went on to become, so it doesn't appear so shocking at that point. But were you surprised by how easy you beat him? Because, I mean, it happened quick, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I was actually. I knew it was going to be a war. I was training with big guys, like 77 kg guys, like welterweights.
Yeah.
Just swinging bombs, and I would just cover. And when I would cover, I would still see flashes. You know what I mean? So I'd be training with big guys just to hit me hard. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, because he used to just hit like a sledgehammer, man.
Yeah, and I actually injured my foot. I popped my ankle like 3 weeks before, so I couldn't do any running, any cardio. So. And I couldn't swim, so I had to learn how to swim for the fight. And that's why in that fight, my footwork is so flat-footed, and I'm just stalking like
you were just planted there.
Yeah.
Well, it's cool. It went the right way for you. Mm-hmm. So speaking of weight classes, then we were talking before we started recording here, and you drop into flyweight.
Yeah, that's the.
What do you walk around at?
Well, before I got here, I was 69 kilograms.
It's so stupid. I'm Canadian and I'm terrible at this whole metric conversion thing.
About 148 pounds or something like that.
Okay.
Now I'm probably 145 walking around. I want to be walking around 136, 138 before I start cutting down to fly.
Okay, so how are you, you working with a nutritionist on this? How are you going to do this the right way?
Well, I just do it on my own. I made 61, 135 pretty easy.
Okay.
So I think I can. It's going to be tough. Don't get me wrong. I know it's going to be tough, but I kind of know my body and I understand what I need to put in.
Okay, so then you want to try to get a fight in the UFC at 125 for your next contest.
Yeah,
okay, so you don't have anything lined up though?
Not concrete, no.
Okay.
No.
Anybody you'd like to fight at that weight class? Or just test the waters to test the weight cut?
Probably Neil Seary. Do you know Neil Seary?
Yeah.
Yeah, Brad Pickett fought him for his first one.
Okay.
I think I like that one.
What's interesting for you in that matchup?
I think he want to stand up with me.
Okay.
I prefer to stand with him. Do you know what I mean? It'll be exciting.
Yeah.
Nice little bang. You know what I mean? He's from Ireland as well.
Okay.
So they love to bang. So.
Yeah, we were just talking about that with Junie. How England has Conor. The Conor's out there, but he was saying how interesting it would be to fight in Ireland because the fans are just so rowdy.
Yeah.
So do you think that'd be a cool fight for you to fight Neil in Ireland?
Oh mate, that would be that'd be a buzz and a half.
When's the UFC going? Oh no, you were saying they're going to Scotland.
Scotland, yeah.
Maybe
Scotland are pretty. They're kind of Vikings.
They're not exactly sober individuals either, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. No, I think okay. Well, then you're saying Scotland. The UFC's going there. What in July?
Yes.
Okay.
I heard it July 11th or something like that.
I mean, we're coming up end of May. You think you're going to you'd be ready for that?
Yeah.
Weight wise, training wise, mind wise.
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome. Well, hopefully we can look forward to setting that up.
Yeah, man.
Awesome. Listen, dude. Thanks very much for coming on the show. Is there anybody you want to give some shout outs or sponsors to talk to? Or
yeah. Shout out to Bad Boy, my sponsor. I'm looking forward to some more sponsors. If anyone wants to sponsor me. Hit me up on Twitter, Vaughan Lee, or just Facebook me, Vaughan Lee. Cheers. I want to say thanks to Boyd at Phuket Top Team as well for hooking me up. And Phuket Top Team's the place to be in Phuket.
There you go. Awesome. Vaughan Lee, thanks for coming out, buddy. Best of luck with your weight cut. Hope you get you get your mind right because you always bring it, and it's always a pleasure to watch you fight, brother.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, man.
Respect. Thanks.
This was the Trash Talk MMA podcast. I'm your host, Antoine Pelletier, with my guest, UFC soon-to-be flyweight, Mr. Vaughan Lee. Peace.
Thanks for listening to the Trash Talk MMA podcast. Be sure to visit trashtalkmma.com.
On my face, behind my back, and talk trash.
And don't forget to follow Antoine on Twitter at Trash Talk MMA.
That's what you said.
Let us know you're listening. Use hashtag Trash Talk MMA.
Shops here down this strip, they weren't here. Do you know what I mean?
It's wild, right?
Built up so much after since then. But and I'm just the energy and the vibe from all the guys in the gym. I've had a nice relationship with Boyd. We speak to each other a lot since my last camp here. I just like it.
Okay, but so specifically, you chose Phuket Top Team because you feel that they really dive into the MMA facet of things.
Yeah, definitely.
Welcome to Trash Talk MMA,
On my face, behind my back, and talk trash.
the #1 podcast for news and insight that matters in the world of mixed martial arts. Brought to you live and unfiltered from all four corners of the globe
That's what you said.
by MMA aficionado Antoine Pelletier.
Yo, and welcome to the Trash Talk MMA podcast. I'm your host, Antoine Pelletier, and today I have a very special guest, UFC bantamweight fighter, Vaughan Lee. Vaughan, how you doing, buddy?
I'm great, thank you.
Awesome, man. What brings you to Phuket?
I'm just out here, trying to get fit, trying to regain my hunger for fighting. I kind of almost lost a reason to fight for, you know. I kind of got comfortable with my job and family and kids and that, so I kind of got complacent, and I know my training wasn't going so well and stuff, so I kind of put myself here to give me that hunger back, you know. And
yeah, I think you hear that quite a bit of people coming out to Thailand to train. I think it's a really nice change of pace, and it's not a distraction, because obviously one of the great things about here is that it's basically you don't have the distractions. Well, you can be distracted,
yeah.
But if you choose to train and to be disciplined, then this is a great place for it. You know, you've got this whole ecosystem out here in Phuket that allows you to kind of disconnect from everything that's back home, etc., and focus on your camp. What brings you to Phuket Top Team specifically? Have you trained with them before?
Yeah, before my first UFC fight with Chris Carriasso, I came out here and decided to train at Phuket Top Team because they're more MMA based, you know.
Okay.
This was like my first UFC.
God, when was that? In 2011.
Yeah, and all these shots.